he recently had a falling out with Paul over some financial stuff. Talk about their relationship. That was becoming strained at the time?
Yeah, I think so. I think it all had to do with promises and money, mostly money. Rob don't play with money, you know, one of those things. Rob feels he gives him 110%, does everything he's asked, works his ass off, you know, takes risks. Obviously, he's a tremendous money maker for Paul, and he expects certain things in return that Paul promised. And when Paul doesn't, you know, ante up his part of the bargain, there's going to be questions, you know.
How big of a wrestling fan was he?
He was huge. I went to his funeral, man. I was good friends with Joey.
Right. He passed away at, I guess, age 26.
Yeah.
It's reported that Heyman isn't fond of him, and
No, he
you
wasn't.
guys kind of have to convince him.
Yeah, to let him do.
Yeah. Well, why? What was that all?
Just because I wanted to.
No, what was Paul's?
Oh, I don't know. Paul's just being a little prick. You know, and I thought, look, he's with Kid Rock. Kid Rock was huge at the time.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was friends with all those guys from Kid Rock. I was friends with Bob. I was friends with Uncle Cracker, who eventually did my music for X Factor. You know, Mike Schaefer, Cracker's brother, was my agent. So I had a big tie to Detroit and all those guys.
Right.
So I was just trying to, like, you know, wheel and deal and just try to, so.
Kid Rock was huge, mainstream. You'd think Paulie just...
You would think, yeah. I don't know. You know,
doesn't like little people? Like what could...
Maybe. I don't know.
Did any other wrestlers attend the funeral?
Yeah. X-Pac did. Myself, Van Dam, Sabu. I think Tammy and Chris. My wife, and that was about it.
Mm-hmm. Was it deserved at that time? Was he ready?
Yeah. Yeah, I think he was. I think his wrestling was really coming together. He'd worked as hard as anybody. I mean, he bled buckets for that place. He did everything that was asked, and he was entertaining. Fans started to really rally behind him, especially at the live events. You know, I think he was as good as anybody at the time.
Are the titles moving too quickly? How do you feel about that rapid title?
At the time, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think everybody knew at that time, too, what was going on. I really do. I really feel that, you know, time was ticking and people knew. Checks weren't being, you know,
right.
We weren't being paid.
How long is that happening before the end? Is it the whole...
Well, it happened a lot, some worse than others.
Right.
You know, I remember one time I was behind so bad, you know, that I literally went to Paul's house and, you know, said, dude, I need my check. And he paid me 2 weeks and gave me a $1/4 ounce of weed as a consolation prize. When I was
that pay the bills?
No, but the 2 checks did. So.
Okay.
But yeah, I wouldn't leave him alone, and he'd blow me off. He was trying to kayfabe me, and you know, I said, Paul, I'm coming to your house. I'm broke. You know, because I'm working my ass off. I'm on TV. I'm supposed to be this, you know, top 20 wrestler in the entire world, and I'm broke. You know.
Yeah. Carino's blade jobs.
Yeah.
Pretty intense.
Yeah.
Did you get him any heat with the other guys that
No.
said tone it down? No.
No.
Okay. Leading up to the match, you do some edgy promos with Francine. You get some quotes here. Give it, take it. You refer to her holding out on sex to regain the title.
Oh yeah.
Tell New Jack and Carino, after I beat you two, I'm going home. I'm going to beat her. Is this yours? Is it coming from Paul?
It's all Paul.
That's all.
Yeah, it's all Paul. My wife wasn't comfortable with it.
I was going to say, did anyone give you flack in your life?
My wife, she was right there when I was taping him. She wasn't too happy, but I mean, she gets it. Whatever. was amazing. He was out of work, and I just wanted to bring him in to work with me. It was my dream, you know, because that was a building where, you know, it's kind of started for both of us. I was doing jobs there in WWF in the 90s, and he, you know, was there as Razor. That's where he had the famous match with 1-2-3 Kid. And, you know, I just asked him if he would come, and he said he'd come work it for free if he just got to work with me. So Paul gave him just, you know, paid for his plane ticket, and Scott came in, and we had a one-on-one.
So you put it together independent of Paul and just went to him afterwards and said...
Yeah. And we're still, to this day, Scott and I talk about it. And how proud he was of me because he forgot everything, and I, like, ran the show in that match. I called the whole match. I just did everything.
You often hear about Scott that he loves making people.
Yeah.
Like he did with Kit, like he did with Sean Waltman.
Yeah.
Did you know that at the time?
Oh, I've known that since day one. He'd tell me. You know, I had no choice.
What does he look for in a talent?
What does he look for?
Like, why does he say, yeah, I want to do...
He looks for love of the business, determination. He looks for heart. He looks for physical attributes, of course. He looks for people who get it. But he just loves... He wants to be around a group of guys that love it as much as he does. You know? And that's what that clique was all about in the beginning. It really was.
He only works these shows. There's never talk to bring him back if he'll do a pay-per-view or payoff?
No.
Okay.
No.
He gives you permission to start talking to other companies, which you do?
I do right away.
Right.
Yeah.
The morale in the locker room obviously is headed south.
You have the people that didn't, and I didn't. I knew that WCW at the time was sinking as well, and I did not want to be. You know, when the music stopped playing, I didn't want to be one person without a chair. You know, like musical chairs. You know, I didn't want to be one without the chair, so I called Jim Ross immediately, and I was out of there before the last show. I think I did in January, or maybe something a spot show in February. But I was out of there before then. Before they officially closed, I was the first guy out the door.
What was the last check you got? Had you? I mean, you had to hunt Paul down. You were saying.
I don't even remember.
At a certain point, you must have just given up hunting Paul down when all this is happening.
Yeah, I mean, it was a loss. I mean, you know, we made it work.
You ever get any resolution on that?
Nope, no idea. Couldn't tell you. You know, the locker room's a sacred place. I
was going to say...
I leave. I mean, this is a locker room. I would just leave my wallet and my cell phone there, and, you know, you guys are here. It's cool. I'll walk around. Yeah. I wouldn't do that to anybody either.
Were there any outsiders that had access to the...
There were some, but very few. That was an inside job. That were guys that were desperate. First of all, the locker room of drug addicts, too.
Right.
You know, not getting paid. And, you know, it is what it is.
You guys don't know that that's going to be the final show there, so there can't be any ceremonial taking of a souvenir. What do you think you would have done to commemorate the event? Would you, with the guys, would you have discussed doing something special that night if you knew?
I would have, yeah. I would have done something. Yeah, I don't know what, but I would have done something.
What's your fondest memory of that building?
You know, it was when I was in the ring with Lance Storm, and I mean, I got so many of them, but the one that really stands out was Sandman made his return from WCW, but nobody knew he was there. They kept him in a van down the street, And they didn't tell the boys. They didn't tell even everybody in the ring. They just told Lance and I. We didn't see Hack. We didn't see anybody. And then we were cutting a Impact Player promo, and then the music hit. And I never, to this day, I've been everywhere. I've wrestled at WrestleManias, Madison Square Garden. I've never heard an arena come unglued. I mean, it was one of those surprises that you don't get very often, especially now. And it was just unreal. I mean, it was just, that was a hell of a moment. That was a hell of a moment.
Was the show canceled, or is Paulie just not making the payments to
payments,
keep?
Yeah.
Right. Any of you guys thinking that you can make it somehow if you scale back, if you just did the small houses?
But the thing was, when we did the Hammerstein shows, they're still all sold out. That's the thing, is we're still drawing.
You just couldn't understand where the money's going.
The money, he had made so many bad investments that there was just no way, I mean, if he had $100,000 house, he owed $200,000. Right. So no matter how much money we were bringing in, and we were still bringing in money, it was just mismanaged from a very early start, and Paul did the best he could to hold on to it for as long as he could. I believe I was the last match.
You and Sandman.
Yeah.
What's the vibe? It must have been like a funeral.
Yes, yeah. We had fun, but it was very sad. And Dreamer came out, and we all drank beers in the ring, and just.
Did it upset you that something so in your face as ECW dies like an old dog, like with a whimper? Like there wasn't even a bang banned from TV because of an angle. It was like,
sad.
Are you shocked to hear how in debt they were when you hear these?
No. No. I mean, that talent, man. I mean, some people they were raping people. I mean, some guys, to keep some of those guys, I mean, how could you pay, like some guys are making $4,000 a week.
Yeah.
How could you pay somebody $4,000 a week? Not just one or two, quite a few. That adds up to $1 million real quick.
How much would you estimate you were owed in the end? If you had to have a check cut right now, what would it be?
$50,000.
What are your feelings on Paulie now? Have they changed?
I'm sorry?
Your feelings on Paulie?
They haven't changed. I love Paul. I think he's a wonderful guy. I think he has two sides. You don't know which side. You don't know when he's Paul Heyman and when he's Paulie Dangerously. He could be a loving, compassionate man. He could be the devil himself. He's a great manipulator, a great motivator. He's all things to all people. And he's born to do what he's doing right now, which is actually performing. Because what you see on TV now, he was on like that in the locker room 24/7. But that's how we got greatness out of maybe mediocre guys. He knew how to channel. He missed his calling. He should have been a self-help guru, or a motivational speaker, because he knew how to get the most out of situations. And creatively, he was probably the best guy I could ever imagine of working with.
So as the chapter closes on ECW, and you know, all these years later, what's ECW's legacy in the big picture in wrestling?
Honestly, for me, it was the best. And I mean, I'm 39 years old. I've wrestled for WWE, TNA, All Japan. I've wrestled in Mexico. Wrestled for every major organization, WCW in the early days. Wrestled everywhere. For me, ECW would easily be the I'd say 3.5 of the best years creatively of my life. I would never trade that for any amount of money. I feel as a whole, we revolutionized this industry, and we did things to this day that I'm still, I mean, to this day, I have people that come up to me and, you know, kids that who couldn't have been there back then, you know, through the magic of YouTube and Vince's DVDs and the 24/7 network. The legend is actually stronger. You know, the matches keep getting better with age. You know, they weren't, I don't remember them being that good, but it's just, you know, but it's just, it was just special. Nothing like that could ever or will ever be duplicated.
Has it gotten its due finally from
I think so.
WWE?
Well, Vince has tried not to, but I think the more he tries not to, the more people could see that it was just something else. It's not the be-all, end-all, but it was special.